Let's rodeo at the Cinch World's Toughest Rodeo, January 10th and 11th at Wells Fargo Arena. It's rodeo and a whole lot more. Come early for autographs, pony rides, and more. See more action, the best entertainment, and be part of the fun. It's too great to wait. Get tickets now at HiVTix.com. It's wild, it's western, it's pro rodeo at the Cinch World's Toughest Rodeo, January 10th and 11th.
Shane Gillis, live on stage.
I'm a bit of a history buff, which, by the way, that is early onset Republican.
His biggest tour ever is coming to Des Moines.
You're a white dude in your 20s and 30s, and you're like, I can't stop reading about World War II. It's coming, bro.
See Shane Gillis with his unmistakable comedic style. Live at Wells Fargo Arena Saturday, May 31st. Get tickets now at iowaeventcenter.com. For more, visit ShaneMGillis.com.
Oh, yeah. It's bigger than 12. We're here on a Sunday morning. I think that's a first for this program. You can tell my voice a little raspy. We're usually doing this thing at like 9 p.m., so I'm excited. We're going to talk some Christmas. We're going to talk some bowl games. Arizona State, we know their opponent. Texas Tech has more money than anybody in the world, I think. It's been crazy. I'm Jake Brend, your co-host here on Bigger Than 12, joined by Derek Duke down in Texas. Derek, Merry Christmas. How are we doing, my friend?
Merry Christmas to everybody. I'm a little tired today for, like you said, Jake, we're recording this on a Sunday morning, and instead of letting me go to church this morning, my co-host over here made me and Aiden wake up at the ass crack of dawn to deliver this show for you guys. So thank you, Jake. And you owe me a breakfast taco, man.
I do.
I think you owe me a breakfast taco, and Aiden, it's got to have beans on it too.
I know this is gonna make Derek so mad, but I'm such a breakfast burrito guy over breakfast tacos. I was at a fine establishment in Des Moines the other day and had the best breakfast burrito in the world.
If you say burritos down here, somebody might kidnap you and take you somewhere. You're gonna be gone forever. You will just vanish. Yeah,
if I'm just eating dinner, give me tacos over a burrito. But at breakfast time, it's gotta be a burrito.
No comment.
Sorry if that offends. Well, today on Bigger Than 12, we're gonna talk some Christmas. We're gonna talk some ASU, whatever's going on down in Lubbock in the portal, and some bowl games. And even though we're recording this on a Sunday, this should be pretty fresh and evergreen throughout the week. So if you want to listen on any of your travel commutes across the state, across the country, through the week, this should be fresh pretty much until bowl games start back up on, I believe, Friday will be the first Big 12 bowl game. And as always, we are a week away from the new year. Make sure you go and get your finances in line with WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. They're the presenting sponsor of Bigger Than 12. Tim Hawkins and his team are experts, and they're experts in simplifying your wealth. There's no better time to get your finances in line heading into the new year than right now. Set up an appointment at wealthcharterretirement.com to schedule an appointment at their office in Ankeny. And of course, we're going to get into some football, but we got to talk Christmas movies first. Derek, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Growing up, I really liked Elf, and I still do. I remember always, and I've another one I always remember is Jingle All the Way as a kid with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I really liked that one growing up. But now as an adult, I think I have two. First off, got to be Die Hard. And for those who say Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, they can kiss my ass. It 100% is a Christmas movie. It's a classic. Bruce Willis kicks ass in that movie. You got, the guy from Family Matters as the cop, Carl Winslow, coming in, and just so many classic lines from that movie. Welcome to the party, pal, and Yippee-ki-yay. I watch it every single year. And the other one for me is Christmas Vacation. I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah.
And it's just so damn hilarious. It's a movie that I think is truly timeless, and I feel like every family in America has a cousin Eddie in their family. So those were probably my top 2 Christmas movies.
Solid choices. Aiden, do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a big Christmas Vacation guy as well. That's 1-1. It's not particularly close. We go to my great grandpa's house on Christmas Eve every year, and we watch the VHS tape of Christmas Vacation.
That's awesome.
It's this year he bought this giant 80-inch TV, but we still have this dinky little VCR player underneath of it because we need to play Christmas Vacation. And then second is definitely Elf. That's a classic in our family. And then my third one, Office Christmas Party. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. It's got Jason Bateman, Olivia Munn, a bunch of SNL cast members. I think they play Juicy Wiggle in it too, so it checks all the boxes. Yeah.
So they've ripped it off from Ohio State?
I think it might have been before Iowa State had it.
Off from them.
Elite movie though. Should definitely give it a watch.
I think we talked about this last year. So I need to stop saying it's on my list and actually watch it. Can I go 5? My top 5? Is that okay?
I had a hard time coming up with 2, but if you got 5, go ahead.
I do. So I'll start with number 5, and I got to thank John Liebel. He's in charge of marketing here at Iowa Everywhere. He asked the question what's everyone's thoughts on Love Actually, and I'd never seen it, so I watched it for the first time this week. It's a British rom-com from 2003. It's actually really good. It's a little cheesy, but it was really funny. So it bumped into my top 5, which I did not expect going into it. Number 4, gotta go Home Alone, a classic. I try to watch it every year. That's the one from when I was a kid that I think is stuck around in my top 5. I've got this one a little lower than you guys, but it's still a classic for me. I watch it every year. Christmas Vacation. Love Clark Griswold. It's the funniest Christmas movie by far. Number 2, It's a Wonderful Life. I love It's a Wonderful Life. I'd never watched it until 2 or 3 years ago. And then I couldn't believe that my mom never showed it to me growing up because it was her favorite movie of all time. So now that tries to be a yearly tradition for me. And then number 1, this one's easy, Goodfellas. It's not only the greatest Christmas movie of all time, it's the best movie of all time. So it's the easiest 1-1. You got Henry Hill walking in after the Lufthansa heist, right after Jimmy says, okay, we can't draw attention to ourselves. We cannot be spending money. They just robbed for $6 million, estimated for $25 million now. And Henry walks in and says, Karen, I got the most expensive tree they had. They play Frosty the Snowman in it. It's just as much of a Christmas movie as Home Alone, as Die Hard. So yeah, it's an easy 1-1 for me.
I love Goodfellas. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't really guess I've associated it with being a Christmas movie. I guess you're right. If Die Hard is a Christmas movie, I guess Goodfellas could be considered a Christmas movie as well. Hey, it's a classic either way.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
I had a bit a couple of years ago. I need to bring it back, where one day I got super bored and I went out and scheduled tweets for every holiday. So I would say my favorite Christmas movie, my favorite Thanksgiving movie, my favorite 4th of July movie. I probably did 20 holidays, and I would find a still frame from Goodfellas that made it look like one of those movies. So I love Goodfellas, but we spend a little too much time on movies. Let's talk Arizona State we've been really waiting to talk about them, but we just didn't know who they were going to play. We know a lot about Arizona State. Their opponent, on the other hand, well, that was decided yesterday. Arizona State will play Texas on New Year's Day in the Peach Bowl. And let's just get right into it. Does Arizona State have a chance?
Absolutely. After seeing them play the last few weeks of the season and going into the Big 12 title game, I can honestly say that they're one of the hottest teams in college football. Offensively, Cam Scatterbo's their guy. He's that bell cow back that we don't see much of anymore in college football. And like I've said before, Cam can do it all. He's quick, he's agile, he isn't afraid to lower his shoulder. Plus, he can catch out of the backfield. Great in pass protection. He truly is a Swiss Army knife of a back. And the thing is, like, even when he doesn't touch the ball, he opens things up for this offense because his presence commands attention from the defense at all times. And the other thing for Arizona State that I think gets lost in the shuffle is Sam Leavitt. We talked about him after the Big 12 title game, but he's a guy who's a freshman and is playing like a four-year starter, grown so much and has gotten better and better as the season went on. He doesn't make mistakes, and he's got some sneaky athleticism. He knows when to take off and run, and he knows when to throw it. He's a guy that I can, like, what I call a chain mover. The only thing I worry about is they have the depth at receiver to go up against a pretty good Texas secondary. Jordan Tyson's still out, so they'll need Gullery and Mateer, their tight end, to step up again. So that's probably my concern for them offensively. Defensively, however, I think they can hang with Texas. I think the Longhorns have sputtered a bit offensively the last few weeks prior, obviously, to the Clemson game on Saturday. But by no means are they like a juggernaut of an offense. Like, Quinn Ewers does make mistakes. Arizona State can force some turnovers. And I love how aggressive Arizona State is, and their front has done a really nice job. Went back and looked second in the Big 12 in run defense. And if they can stop Texas from running, which Texas did have some success against Clemson yesterday, I think that'd be pretty huge for them. Now, my concern, though, is does Texas have guys who can make plays at receiver and tight end? Absolutely. They're loaded at the skill position. So Arizona State, I think the key for them going in is going to be that pass rush of theirs. They're going to have to probably play their best game of the year. But I think if they bring pressure and blitz more often than not, I think they could force Quinn Ewers into some mistakes.
Yeah, so I want to start with Sam Leavitt because I thought Cade Klubnik really gave Texas some problems in that second half. He was nails. A lot of those throws he was making were against good defense, and it was just the quarterback's better. The offensive guy made a better play. And Sam Leavitt is a similar type of QB to Klubnik in the sense that maybe not the best arm talent in the country. It's not going to be coveted by these NFL scouts. But there's just a moxie. There's something that's not measurable about both of them that I saw up close and personal in the Big 12 championship with Leavitt. So if Leavitt can play at or above the level that he did in the Big 12 championship, that's kind of the bottom line that Arizona State is going to need to compete in this game. I think they'll probably struggle up front against that Texas defensive front, which is not the end of the world because even if you close up the holes, even if you have guys in spots to make plays, you still have to bring down Cam Scatterbo. And we saw that in the Big 12 championship where Iowa State a lot of the time was in position to bring down Scatterbo and didn't do it. So it's kind of the mix of, five-star talent against five-star culture. Can these NFL players from Texas bring down Scatterbo? Absolutely. They should be able to. But will they? That's what a lot of that comes down to. But again, it's going to be an uphill climb. We saw just yesterday what kind of the talent gap difference between a Notre Dame and an Indiana, a Penn State and an SMU, even an Ohio State and a Tennessee. I didn't get the sense in the Texas Clemson game that the gap was substantial, but it was big. And I would imagine the gap will look pretty big between Texas and Arizona State. But Texas was in the Big 12 pretty much for 15 years in between Big 12 championships, and their talent gap was always sizable over everybody. I do think that Sark has changed that. He's changed that culture. He's changed that program. And that's not the Texas team that we grew to love under Charlie Strong and Tom Herman. But the game isn't won on paper. It would be my point.
Yeah, I don't think Tom Herman or Charlie Strong would have this team even remotely this close to the playoff or in the SEC title game. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Also, you got to be careful what you're saying about Ohio State and Tennessee there. I'm afraid Greg Sankey might try to sue us here on this show.
Yeah, speaking of Goodfellas, I walked outside this morning to grab a coffee, and there's like a helicopter following me around. It was probably Greg Sankey and Paul Feinbaum for some negative tweets that I made about the SEC yesterday.
Yeah, and how about Lane Kiffin and Paul Feinbaum just tweeting all day long on Saturday about, and they're just bitching and complaining about these games being lopsided and the committee got it wrong and this team shouldn't be in the playoff. But you know what's funny? When that Tennessee-Ohio State game was going on and it was a blowout, I didn't see any national media members questioning if Tennessee should be in the playoff. Didn't see Lane Kiffin tweeting. Didn't see Paul Feinbaum tweeting. So I just find it funny that nobody asked that question when Tennessee was getting their ass kicked on Saturday night.
So my thing is, even if these games are blowouts, why does that necessarily mean that the team didn't belong? When an 11 seed SMU goes on the road to the 6 seed and gets their butt kicked, I'm not saying it was expected, but that almost should be the result, especially in this day and age in college football. It was just driving me mad yesterday when these conclusions about a 12-team playoff were drawn after 2 data points. And I know the Texas-Clemson game ended up being a 14-point game, but that game was a lot closer than the score indicated. Clemson had the ball at the 1-yard line. That would have cut it to 7, and Texas was not moving the ball really well in the second half until that point. Texas, to their credit, comes up with a massive goal line stand, but that was really close to being a 1-score game. And then Ohio State, Tennessee, that was just, the SEC, we just saw why it mattered more. But I think we probably need, can we give it 3-4 years of data points to see what this is like? Because it's just ridiculous to draw conclusions after one game. And even if we know that Indiana wasn't one of the 12 best teams, it's not about the 12 best teams, I don't think. It's about the 12 most deserving. And if you want to make the point, which I saw plenty yesterday, well, this is just proving that there's no way that there's 12 teams that can win a national championship. Perfectly fine. But still give 12 teams a shot. And if Indiana and SMU prove that they can't win a national championship, the playoff did its job. And it also proved that Penn State is probably really good. Notre Dame is really good. And I think we're in for an awesome quarterfinal weekend.
For sure.
I can't wait. Man, if the Forks can do it, please.
I hope so too.
They're reliving a glorious old Big 12 rivalry. I can't wait.
They'll find out pretty quick here, coming up on New Year's Day. So really looking forward to that game for sure. And that would be great if Arizona State takes down Texas. That's a successful season in my book for the Big 12. That'd be awesome.
I do think there is a line as far as what does Arizona State need to avoid? And I don't think, the narrative's going to be the narrative no matter what. But the narrative would be a lot different if Arizona State hung in for 3 quarters. Maybe it was a 1-score game in the third quarter. Texas pulls away, wins by 14-17. But if it's something like we saw between SMU and Penn State, it just wouldn't be good for the Big 12 perspective at all. So there's a lot riding on Arizona State, and I don't like how college football has become so territorial and wanting. It forces you to cheer for your rivals, essentially, which you don't see that in any other sport. You don't see, oh, well, the Ravens knocked out the Steelers in the divisional round, so now the Steelers got to cheer for the Ravens to make the AFC North look good. Because the AFC North looking good does nothing for them. In college football, let's say if Iowa State was in the college football playoff right now, it would do good for K-State for Iowa State to advance. And that system is ridiculous in my opinion, but we can talk more about that at a later date. We're going to bring Aiden in for a trivia question. I know we missed it last week, so we're going to make it up to you on this Christmas edition.
All right, Derek, let's lock in here.
Lock in.
This famous actor was born in Winterset, Iowa, and is famous for his roles in war and Western movies.
Finally.
That was easy.
He shares the nickname with an NFL football.
Enemy. It's John Wayne.
Yes.
It's
Merry
Very
Christmas.
good.
Yeah,
Had to give you a
that was
layup.
That was a gift.
What's funny is we the last time we were up in Iowa, we drove that Sunday. Give a shout out to stop by Coach's Kolaches, grab some kolaches on the way out, and drove to Omaha. And I did see that on the way to Omaha. It was like this big sign. It was like saying, "Come exit here."
John
home
Wayne
of John Wayne.
birthplace.
Yeah, and I really did want to stop if we weren't kind of on a time schedule. I think it was like a 2-hour drive to Omaha or something like that. But if I had a little bit more time, if I go back, I think maybe I will. I'll make a pit stop in Winterset.
I don't think I've been. I've been to Winterset a ton. I don't think I've ever actually been to the birthplace. Maybe I should do that.
There you go.
It's one of those things where it's in your state and you know about it and you just you never bother to do it. So I'll have to knock that out too. Maybe when you're up here doing a live show next summer, we'll see.
For sure.
So we got to talk about Texas Tech. It's insane what they're doing. They have the number 1 ranked portal class on On3. I know the sites all vary, but whatever way you want to paint it, they're having one of the best, if not the absolute best portal seasons of any team this offseason. They've got the number 1 defensive lineman, a guy from UCF, number 2 OT, number 4 tight end, number 6 defensive line, just down the line, former 4 and former 5 stars across the board. They lost their 5-star receiver, but they have completely taken over the portal with NIL, with culture, who knows. What's your initial thoughts when you saw all this? Because I'm at the point where I'm having to double check. Like, oh, did they actually just get Peyton Manning in the portal? Because that's what it seems like right now. They can get whoever they want.
Yeah, what's going on is Joey McGuire and the NIL team at Texas Tech are on fire. Tech's opening up that wallet, and it's making some of these, I can say honestly, it's making some of these blue blood programs uncomfortable because everyone is saying Texas Tech shouldn't be doing this. How are they doing this? Well, Tech's doing it, and right now, as you mentioned, number 1 portal class in the country, 16 commits. Almost half of them are 4-star players. In fact, they're tied with LSU with the most 4-star transfer commits, which is anytime a Big 12 team is tied with LSU in anything in the recruiting world is just crazy in itself. And what I really love about some of these transfers, that you mentioned as well is they beefed up in the trenches. I mean, 3 of their 4-star guys are in the trenches, which is an area they really need to get better in. But overall, they got some playmakers too, tight end, corner, receiver. And coming in, I really liked how they approached this offseason. They knew defense was their weakness, went out and got 2 of the best defensive line transfers in the entire country. I said last week that Joey McGuire was slowly building this program up. He's building a solid foundation, 3 8+ win seasons so far, 3 wins, 3 seasons in a row with an above 500 record in conference play. You got Morton coming back at quarterback. It really is starting to look like to me that 2025 could be the year where Texas Tech finally breaks through that barrier that they've been trying so hard to break through for the last few years.
It's obviously been great news for Texas Tech fans every morning they wake up because they get some new Christmas present of some former 4-star coming to Lubbock. The bad news is there's going to be a lot of pressure now, and there is going to be a target on their back because in a way, they're kind of the new Texas. Not from our perspective, and they're not really the new Texas. But when you're going to play Texas Tech, what's going to be the message from the opposing coach? Oh, look at all these thrown together transfers. Look at all these guys. Look how much money they're making in NIL. They think that they're better than you. They're going to have a target on their back. And when you make this much noise in the portal, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Joey McGuire to follow through. And that was something we talked a lot about this year, where they've had these top recruiting classes in the Big 12. They've had the talent. They've had Taj Brooks, but where are they? When are they going to break through that 7-5, 8-4 ceiling? And I was starting to wonder if that was ever going to come. I was starting to wonder, are they only going to be an elite offense that can never break through on defense? Well, when you build up that defensive side of the ball with that much talent, it's time. It is time to break through. But we're not that far removed from what happened to Florida State this year, even LSU. So just because you bring in talent doesn't mean it automatically transfers over. But more often than not, the talent does win out. And when you look at the team rankings from last year, who were some of the other teams that were high? Well, Indiana was pretty high. And they brought in a lot of talent. So good on Texas Tech, good for their fans, and they should be excited for 2025. But man, those expectations and that pressure, it's coming. And it's going to be big time down in Lubbock.
Sure, those boosters opening up their wallets, man. They're going all in. So I can appreciate that. I absolutely love it that we have a Big 12 team at number 1 in the transfer portal rankings. So really good for the conference as well.
So Joey McGuire's nowhere near the hot seat. Wasn't at all last year. In a way, could this speed up the process to get to the hot seat? What if they bring in all this, they make all this noise, and nothing changes on defense, and they go 7-5? Would that be enough for him to lose his job? I don't want to put that into the world for their sake, but it makes me think of that because if they would have just gone status quo and had an average offseason and go 8-4 next year, they're probably in the same spot. But now when you make all this noise, I feel like it changes.
There's obviously going to be some pressure on Joey going into next season due to this, what's going on right now. But I think what the most important thing, if you go 7-5, then 2026 could be a year where he's probably maybe on the hot seat a little bit. But he's coming off 8 wins, so many consistent seasons now, 3 in a row put together. And for me, if they go out and win 9 or 10 games next year, I think most people in Lubbock would call that a success. Obviously, they want to get to the Big 12 title game. They want to have a chance to play for the college football playoff. All these things are still on the table for them. But I think when you look at them overall as a team, it wouldn't surprise me if they won 9 or 10 games next season. And I know we're a long way away from 2025 this season coming. So for me, I don't know if it does. It definitely adds some pressure. But if you go 7-5, even if you go 6-6, if something happens, they go 6-6 next season, he's not getting fired after one bad season. So now would it put him on the hot seat going into 26? Absolutely. But again, I think he's got some wiggle room at that job that a lot of other coaches in this conference don't.
Yeah, when these boosters are ponying up like they are, that's why I think of it. Because if billionaire X and billionaire Y front all this money to fund this and they don't get the results, what are they going to say? Well, where's the results? Well, what are we paying you for? So that's where I think of it, but I don't think that's going to happen. You mentioned it. Their bottom line has been 7-5, 8-4, and if they had any semblance of a defense, they would have been in the mix to get to Dallas this year. So it's kind of similar to the Iowa offense conversation from last year. If the Iowa offense can just not be dead last, if they can, as Chris Hassel would always say, if they could be 99th. For the Texas Tech defense, I don't know exactly where they were off the top of my head, but I would imagine somewhere in the 100s, 110s. Can they cut that in half and be in the 50s and 60s? If they can do that, they will make some noise next year in the Big 12.
How dare you bring up Iowa's offense on our Christmas show? That is not a happy Christmas, not a way to start a new year. Don't want to hear about that.
My bad. So as we talk about 2025, let's make our Big 12 championship predictions for next year.
Oh, man. I got killed enough this past season with my predictions, and I actually went back and I always do a where I was right, where I was wrong column, and there was a whole lot of wrong this year. I don't even want to attempt at predicting 2025 right now until we get into maybe the summer or July. I can't. That's too much pressure.
We don't even have the schedule yet. We have the opponents. I don't know what the Big 12 is waiting for. Every other conference has it out. My guess would be they're waiting for TV because there are these pocket weeks where the SEC is playing powerhouses like Mercer and Georgia State in November, and who knows, maybe that's the week where Ohio State's playing Rutgers and Indiana is playing Maryland and Michigan is playing UCLA. Maybe the Big 12 is waiting to see stuff like that, and that's where you try and put an Iowa State Arizona State rematch. That's where you try and put Colorado against pretty much anybody. And the other thing, we didn't even have this on the rundown. The other thing I think of, maybe they're waiting to make sure that Coach Prime stays in Boulder, because if you release a TV schedule,
he's not there.
If you release a schedule and you've got them playing all these marquee games and marquee slots, and then he leaves for my Dallas Cowboys, then you're stuck with a primeless Colorado program that you probably don't want on TV too much.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
I don't think he's leaving.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
That's just kind of what my mind went to. So, Aiden had a week off on a 1-game losing streak, but we're going to try and guess a random Big 12 quarterback.
Yep. You guys got the bye week. Sorry. So this 2003, I know it's a little...
Oh, boy.
A little farther back than we normally go, but this 2003 Houston Bowl MVP had the all-time single-season passing record until it was recently broken. I think it was 21. Bailey Zappi broke it. He won the Sammy Baugh Trophy, and despite just going 8-5, he led the country in passing yards and touchdowns.
I know who this is. I'm blanking on the name.
It's a Texas Tech quarterback, correct?
Yes.
It's got to be. Is it What's his name? Is it BJ Simmons?
Yes. Yeah. There you
There
go.
we go.
Nice.
I was going to say it was a guy who had pretty much no NFL career.
Yeah. He only started 1 year at Texas Tech.
That's right. I remember that.
He was after Kingsbury, I think.
And then was Sonny Cumbie the next year?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Trying to get my Tech quarterbacks in a row there.
Well, I was 2 years old, so I've got an excuse. I did actually. I went through a phase during the pandemic of watching old Texas Tech Mike Leach highlights. Those were the days.
Yep, we all miss him.
The Michael Crabtree catch against Texas is one of my all-time favorite highlights to go back and watch.
Those teams were so damn fun to watch. Oh, they were awesome.
Well, good work on getting the quarterback. Let's talk bowl games. We'll do our picks in just a couple minutes. But how do we fix bowl games to get the general public to care about them again?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think they're beyond the point of repair, and it's because of the college football playoff. The expanded playoff made bowl games matter less than what they did before. And even when we had just a 4-team playoff, we saw teams from, players from Ohio State and other places and have guys sit out in the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, whatever New Year's Six Bowl that wasn't affiliated with the playoff in that particular year. And I think the playoff has just truly killed these bowl games. And from a player standpoint, if you're a projected first-round pick, why play in the nobody gives a shit bowl and risk injury and risk millions of dollars? It makes no sense to do that. It's just not worth it. And on top of that, you have the transfer portal that opens up before the bowl season. These teams look completely different than what they did the month before. Between the playoff, the transfer portal, those are what really did these bowls in, and it's a shame. I remember when these bowls used to mean something. Now they truly are a glorified exhibition game, and honestly, I'm at the point where I think Hassel brought it up the other week that these games really shouldn't count on your season record because I feel like they're so watered down now, and I feel like I mentioned before, these teams are just completely different teams. I mean, you just look across the board, you have no idea who's playing, and one more gripe about the bowls that has nothing to do with the Alamo Bowl or Pop-Tarts Bowl or anything like that. Any of those classic bowl games or these fun bowl games, it's the New Year's Six Bowls, like the Rose Bowl. It's so stupid to have the quarterfinal games there. I mean, let these teams that earned a first-round bye host a playoff game, make it to where home field advantage actually matters, reward these teams who have earned a bye instead of making them play on a neutral field across the country. Like, Arizona State should be playing in Tempe. Like, they should be hosting Texas in Tempe. We deserve that. The Arizona State fans deserve that. College football fans deserve that. They deserve that atmosphere that what would happen in Tempe. But instead, we're not. We're going to get a neutral site bullshit game. And look, I'm looking forward to the game as much as anybody. But keep these games on college campuses. We just saw yesterday, this past weekend.
Glorious.
It was so awesome. You had Notre Dame. Their crowd was amazing. Even in Texas, their crowd was great. Penn State was rocking. Ohio State on Saturday night was rocking. Like, you had so many of these great atmospheres, and why do you want to get less of that? Why do you want less of that? We should be wanting more of that. And instead, we're going to be playing these neutral site games. For me, it just ruins the fan experience, and it's what is ruining our beloved sport. I mean, seriously, I questioned this the other day is how many normal fans can afford to go to the conference championship game, a quarterfinal game, a semifinal game, and a potential national championship game? Like, what's the cost of going to all those? It's got to be like over $20,000.
Yeah,
minimum.
It's never been more expensive to be a fan. And I don't expect Iowa State to have great attendance at the Pop-Tarts Bowl, despite the fact that it's a fan base that is very well known for traveling. But they just went down to the Big 12 Championship. Fans spent tons of money in Arlington. Ireland
Texas
is
Live.
coming up. Yeah, and Texas Live. Not Arlington. Ireland is coming up next summer. That's not cheap. I know that firsthand. And the men's basketball team is ranked third in the country. So if you've got the choice to go to the bowl, and you can think, well, might want to push some money to maybe make a couple trips in March to follow the Cyclones, that's the logical way. And this isn't about Iowa State fans. This is about bowl games in general, because I do think that the Big 12 is involved in easily the two best and most important bowl games of the entire cycle in the Alamo and the Pop-Tarts Bowl, because you have so much NFL talent playing and not opting out. And that's the number one thing it comes down to. If you can get guys like Cam Ward, like Shedeur Sanders, like Travis Hunter to play in these bowl games, people will care and people will watch. But how do you make the players care? Because Ward, Sanders, Hunter, those are the outliers for the past half decade. Guys like that typically don't play. One way this probably wouldn't get a guy who's going to be a top 10 pick at quarterback to play, but it might get second, third, lower guys to play. So we'll use Pop-Tarts as an example. I don't know how much they're paying to be the bowl sponsor. Well, let's just say it's $5 million. That might be high. I truly don't know. What if instead of the bowl game taking that $5 million or Pop-Tarts having that $5 million go one place, what if it's $4 million and $1 million of that goes to the players that play, or $1 million of that goes to the winning team, or both teams get something no matter what? The winning team gets more. The game MVP gets a $100,000 bonus. Would that not incentivize a guy that's looking at a day 3 NFL pick but just doesn't want to get hurt? I think it would. And look, you're probably not going to get Caleb Williams to play in the Las Vegas Bowl, which is fine. Days like that are probably gone, and I'm glad that Cam Ward and Shedeur are playing because it's good for the sport. The most obvious and easiest fix that's never going to happen would be change the cycle. But until the college football calendar and the academic calendar line up, that's not going to happen. I know Nick Saban, Alabama Jones, on College Game Day the other day said just open it once. Just open it in May or April, whenever it opens in the spring, and don't open the portal in December. That's never going to happen. But that, of course, would change a lot of this. And then the most out-of-the-box idea, it was floating around on social media a couple weeks ago. How about a college football NIT? That would be appointment tell. If you could find a way to make the teams care about that, I would love a college football NIT. You still have your bowl games, so the winner of the Alamo Bowl plays the winner of the Pinstripe Bowl. And then you just keep going up and up and up. I don't know. It's never going to happen. I don't know how logistically it would happen, but you can't tell me that people wouldn't watch it. Because people watch football, there's no doubt. And people still watch good bowl games. The Pop-Tarts Bowl will pull in numbers, and so will the Alamo Bowl. Could it pull in enough numbers to make it matter?
Yeah, I don't know about the NIT thing. You already have guys transferring out of programs that are in New Year's Six bowls and some even in the playoff.
Yeah, in the playoff.
I just don't see teams having enough bodies at that point when you're talking beyond December 28th or 30th or whatever after the new year. I think that's really tough to do because of the transfer portal. And Nick Saban's right. Like, something's got to change with the transfer portal. Obviously, the academic calendar is not going to change. That's never going to happen, like you said. But something's got to change with the transfer portal. They need to regulate this thing. They need to regulate it. Everything needs to be adjusted at some point. And I don't know if it's going to be 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, whatever it may be. But somebody needs to be looking at this now and start coming up with some solutions, because right now it really is the Wild West out here.
it's never going to, I won't say never. I don't think it's going to be fixed in the near future unless it comes down to contracts. Unless once the NIL, once the money goes in-house and there has to be requirements, but still, I don't think that's going to hold up in court because the players or whoever's representing the players can say, the college is limiting my client's ability to test the free market. So I don't know if it's moving up the season, condensing the season, but the FCS is able to play 12 regular season games and 4 playoff games, and they will play their national championship on January 5th or something like that. That can be done. Why do we need this huge week in between the conference championships and the first round of the playoffs? Why can't we just go straight into the playoffs like literally every other sport does? Like the NFL does. I know it's for finals, but give me a break. They don't actually care about giving these students the best academic experience when you're asking them to have their season go. If you're playing for the national championship, you're playing dang near into February. So I think you could probably cut out one bye week because every team gets 2. You could bump week 1 up to week 0. And then sure enough, week 0 will be happening on August 15th, which would be another problem. But if you do that, you cut out a bye week, you could be playing conference championship weeks like Black Friday and the day after Black Friday. Start the first round of the college football playoff the first week of December, quarters the next week. You could be playing the semifinals this very weekend, and the national championship could be when it used to always be, that first week into February or first week into January.
Yep.
And I think that could fix a lot of the portal cycle because you're not going to have guys. I mean, you probably would. You're not going to have too many guys that are transferring when your team's in the semifinal of the college football playoff.
Yeah, we see guys sit out mid-season and just stop. So anything can. It's just such a crazy world we live in.
It's a disaster. I almost forgot. We got to give a shout out to our friends at Freedom Tire. If you haven't gone to them yet before Christmas, you're running out of time. But the good news is they'll make your time there worth it and quick. Quentin Crowner and his team at locations in Ames, Altoona, Fleur Drive in Des Moines, West Des Moines, and Hickman on Urbandale. They'll get you in and out of there, and they'll take care of your car. They're not going to upcharge you and treat you like an idiot. They're going to be real with you, and they're going to take care of you because they're locally owned, and they support us, who are also locally owned. And oftentimes, locally owned people work together, and that's exactly what Freedom Tire does. Go stop in at your nearest Freedom Tire location or visit freedomtire.com. Let's pick some bowl games. Let's start with West Virginia, Memphis. Oh, wait. That game already happened. Kind of bizarre ending. It was a push.
Yeah.
Line closed at 5. We're actually going to start with the Rate Bowl. I don't know when this became the Rate Bowl. I want to say it was the Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
Guaranteed Rate Bowl, yeah.
I don't know why it's not guaranteed anymore, but I'm guaranteed to watch it. We just had that long talk about bowl games, and I'll complain about them, but I'm still going to watch. I've watched pretty much every bowl game already, even though if it's Sam Houston State and whoever they played. So the Rate Bowl, K-State is playing Rutgers in, I believe this is in Arizona. It's on Thursday, December 26th at 4:30 on ESPN. The Wildcats are favored by a touchdown with the over-under at 51.5.
Yeah, I think Kansas State has a lot to prove. Avery Johnson had a breakout performance in that bowl game last year in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And I think frustration's kind of built up in Manhattan, Kansas. I like Kansas State ending the season on a high note. Give me the Wildcats to cover here.
Yeah, in a way, these bowl games are an extension of next season. And as of right now, K-State's got a lot coming back. There's still a little bit to go in the portal session, but you're bringing back a lot of young talent. I like this as a springboard into the next year. And honestly, I watched Rutgers a lot this year. They're nothing special. Give me K-State by a touchdown. Heading to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Arkansas against Texas Tech on Friday at 6 o'clock. Arkansas is favored by a point. The over-under is 56.5.
Yeah, I don't think Arkansas is a great football team, and Joey McGuire always seems to do well in bowl games. Tech's on fire right now in the portal. I think that momentum's going to hit the field too. So I like the Red Raiders here to win this game.
I'm going to go with the over. This feels to me like a game where neither team can get a stop, and 56.5 feels a little bit low. Bowl games typically tend to be higher scoring, I think, anyways, and Texas Tech's defense wasn't great all year. I wouldn't expect them to instantly take a step up in the coveted Liberty Bowl out on Beale Street, so I'll go over. The Isleta, is it Isleta? Isleta, New Mexico Bowl. TCU against Louisiana on Saturday at 1:15 on ESPN. The Horned Frogs favored by 13. The over-under 58.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over on the 58.5 here. I don't know about TCU's defense in this game. Louisiana is a lot better than what people think. I will say that. So I don't see the Horned Frogs really getting... I don't see 13.5 here, so I don't see that at all. So I'm going to pick the over here. TCU's offense has been really good with Josh Hoover, so Louisiana's going to have a tough time stopping their offense as well. So I think we could see kind of a high-scoring matchup here, so I'm going to take the over on that one.
My number one rule of bowl season, if you get a group of 5 going against a power 5, just take the points. Give me the Ragin' Cajuns plus 13. I love this spot for them. Those teams typically are more motivated, and they want it a little bit more than the other. I don't think they'll win, but I think they should cover the 2 touchdown spread. We'll move on to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Number 13 Miami against number 18 Iowa State. That's also on Saturday at 2:30. The Canes are favored by 4. The over-under is 55.5.
Is Cam Ward, is he still out of this game? Or do we still don't know the status?
He's still playing.
He's still playing. Okay.
As far as we know.
If Cam Ward's playing, I'm going to take Miami to cover that spread there. Cam Ward's a fantastic quarterback. Seen him multiple times this season on big stage. Miami's going to put up points. The one thing about Miami is their defense isn't that great. I think Iowa State's going to put some points up as well. But Miami with Cam Ward, I think I'm going to have to take the Canes there.
For every point you just made, that's why I'm going with the over. We've seen Iowa State in bowl games, their defense struggle a little bit. And when you're going up against probably the number 1 pick in the NFL draft with a lot of weapons, they're going to find a way to put up points. I think this one gets up in the 60s, maybe even the 70s.
Wow.
That same day, this is going to be an awesome back-to-back doubleheader. The Alamo Bowl, a Big 12 matchup. Colorado, BYU at 6:30 on ABC. The Buffs favored by a field goal. 54.5 is the total.
Yeah, this game is so hard for me, and I really appreciate both of these teams having so many of their guys play. I haven't heard of really anybody sitting out of this game. This is probably the premier matchup out of all the bowl games that aren't in the playoffs, so really looking forward to this one. I think I'm going to take Colorado here. I just think they're going to end their season on a high note. I know BYU's a really good football team. Defensively, they're fantastic as well. BYU's going to do their best to slow things down, but I don't know. Sanders and Hunter playing in this game. I think I'm going to take the Buffs here.
I know they've ran into a buzzsaw in Kansas that really hindered their Big 12 chances. Colorado is who I'm talking about, but also happened to BYU. But just the last half of the season, Colorado is playing much better football. BYU really trended down the entire last half of the year. I like the Buffs in this game. Coach Prime will have his boys ready to go. Then we'll head to New Year's Eve. Sorry, I should have clarified. I'm taking Colorado -3. Moving to New Year's Eve, the Kinder's Texas Bowl. You going to this?
My brother is.
Where's
my
this
brother
play?
is.
Houston?
NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas. So, yeah, my brother is going to this game.
Could also be called the Dave Aranda Bowl. LSU and Baylor. New Year's Eve at 2:30 on ESPN. LSU is getting a point. Total set at 59.5.
The hell with that point. I'm taking the Bears, man. They were on fire to end the year. 6 straight wins. Love the way that football team's playing with Sawyer Robinson. Washington, fantastic running back. Defensively, I do have some concerns about that team, but I think Baylor really actually wants to be here. I think LSU is going to be a great opponent for them. Don't know who's going to be playing in or out for LSU at this point, but give me Baylor. I love Baylor in this spot.
I also love Baylor in this spot. They were playing the best football of anyone in the Big 12 the last 6 weeks of the season. I can't see LSU caring too much about this game. And again, a lot of these games can be springboards in the next season. Baylor's got a lot to play for going forward. I'll take Baylor plus the point. I might call that a lock. I haven't done a lock in a while, but I feel really good about Baylor. And then
Good lock.
I mean, the most important of them all, some call it the granddaddy of them all, the Peach Bowl. Arizona State, 13.5-point underdogs. The total is 52 against Texas in the college football playoff quarterfinal.
Tough for me. This one's really tough for me. Texas, good football team. I don't think they're national championship good. If Arizona State was going against a team like, I don't know, Georgia or Oregon, I would feel a lot less comfortable about it. But I think Texas has some weak points in their football team. I think Arizona State's defense could slow them down a little bit offensively. So I'm going to stick with Texas winning. However, I am going to pick Arizona State to cover that double-digit spread. So I'm going to take the Sun Devils to cover, but unfortunately, I have a hard time seeing them knock off Texas.
I'm going to go with the under. I also agree that Texas wins. I think Arizona State will try and shorten this game. Because if you shorten this game and bait Quinn Ewers into a couple mistakes, that's the path to victory. I don't think they're going to win a track meet with Texas. So I think they try and ugly it up. Texas likes to run the ball too. Low possession game. I think Texas wins. They'll probably come close to covering, but I'd feel a little bit better taking that under.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's it. We hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you all have just a Merry Christmas, a great holiday week. This is the best time of the year. Spend it with family. Watch all the bowl games. Eat all the food. It's gonna be awesome, man. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, we had a first Christmas on Saturday, and we already had tamales and chili. So it's tamale season down here. So I'm all for it. And we don't get tamales too often, but Christmas time is always the best time for that. So I love it.
Yeah, literally right after we finish up this, I'm heading out east to my grandparents for Christmas. So it's my favorite time of the year. There's nothing better. So we appreciate everyone that tuned in today. We hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. And we're going to be back. We got to talk about the schedule a little bit. I think we'll probably be back after Arizona State plays, and we'll react to that. But
Probably so.
we got to talk about that. We'll keep you posted. Thank you so much for supporting us on Bigger Than 12 in Iowa Everywhere. Go to WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax and hit up Freedom Tire. And as always, thanks to Channel Seed in the Channel Seed Studios. This has been Iowa Everywhere.